All right, guys. So hard to believe, but this is going to be my last video before Christmas. I can't believe how quick this year has gone by. Not that that's a bad thing. I'll be glad to have 2020 in the rear view and looking forward to 2021 like a lot of you guys are too, I'm sure. So a couple of things for today. We're going to be doing, first of all, a Q&A. I've got a list of really good questions for you guys. After the Q&A, we're going to be drawing the winner of this three-piece collection along with the watch roll and some straps. Hopefully you caught the video where I announced the giveaway and had a chance to enter. But before we do that, let's get to the Q&A. Question number one comes from Purple Tree, and Purple Tree asks, do you think hybrid watches have a place in the watch world, such as analog faces with fitness tracking, notifications, and music, but with traditional styling? First of all, thanks for the question, and it's a really good question. I think there's absolutely zero problem with watches like that, or smartwatches, fitness watches, that sort of thing. The one dilemma that I personally have with them is I like to have variety on wrist. Through the course of the week, I may wear 10 different watches. And to really get the full benefit of watches like that track your heart rate, your sleeping, all of that sort of thing, I think you kind of have to wear them all the time. So for me personally, it's a no-go, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with watches like that. Next up is Grady60, and he asks, is there a watch that you regret selling, and if so, why? So I've sold quite a few watches over the years. There's a few regrets in there. There's one kind of big regret that I have, though, and that was selling my Schumacher Speedy. It was a Panda dial chronograph. They called it the poor man's Daytona. I loved the watch, and regretfully ended up selling that one. I find myself lately looking at Panda dial chronographs, mechanical chronographs, and thinking of adding one back into the collection. That one keeps coming up, and I also see that the prices have gone up on it quite a bit since I've sold it. So that's probably the biggest regret when it comes to watches I've let go. This next one kind of goes appropriately after a talk on Speedmasters. This is a question from Ultima 503. Thoughts on limited editions? For me, I actually don't have a problem with limited editions, even with the Speedmasters. I kind of like that there's variety like that. I'm not a Speedmaster collector or anything, so it doesn't really affect me so much. The only time that I really kind of get bothered by limited editions are when they're not limited. I've owned a few different Seikos where they're limited supposedly to 5,000 pieces, 2,500 pieces, that sort of thing. And I think that's a little bit silly, but otherwise I don't have an issue with limited editions. This next one's actually really good, especially for people that are new to the channel. Larry Travis asks, why do you call the channel Time to Go Travel? So the channel name is Time to Go Travel and Timepieces. This year, with all of the restrictions in place, the travel portion of the channel has been on pause. But normally my wife and I like to go away a few times a year, and I'll usually do a few videos mixed in with the watch reviews. So that's what's up with the channel name. Hopefully 2021 we can get back to that. Sticking with the topic of travel, Richard Martel asks, when you can travel again, where are you going first and which watches are you taking with you? So we had a total of 4 vacations canceled this year. The 2 big ones were Spain. We were going to be in Spain for my wife's birthday, and Panama. Those will be coming up as soon as we're able to go, but the first place I'll probably go is to visit my parents. They live out on the east coast of Canada. I haven't seen them since the summer of 2019. I was supposed to see them a couple of times this year, so that didn't end up happening, but that'll probably be the first trip. As far as the watch or watches that I'll be taking with me, this kind of goes with a question that Jeffrey Wood asked. He asked, what watch purchase plans do I have for 2021? And one of the purchase plans I do have is to pick up the Casio Oceanus. I haven't settled on which model yet. There's a couple of different ones that interest me, but I think that's going to be a really cool travel watch, and that'll be definitely making it on the wrist for any upcoming vacations, hopefully in 2021. Ken Spear asks, how many watches in your collection? My collection count has a pulse. It's like this. It goes up and down and up and down. I'd say The range is between about 15 all the way up to about 30 watches, but once I get past 25-ish or so, I start to get into purge mode and I'll put stuff up for sale. So I'd like to keep it around 15-ish, but it does have that bit of a pulse to it. Next up is a question from Stefan Vondeven, and he asks, when goes the drone back in the air? No better time than the present. So just kidding, Stefan. I do actually plan on getting the drone up for a couple of videos this winter, though. My brother is building some skis for his plane this weekend, so I'd like to go with him and maybe land in some remote areas. And if I do, I'll definitely bring the drone along for that. You should consider getting one yourself, Stefan. I've seen the countryside near where you live in your Instagram posts, and I think you could get some really cool shots if you had a drone up in the air there. Next is a question from Tom Frost, and he asks, do you feel a different / higher level of concern about scratching or damaging a watch when wearing a more expensive watch? Or is it all the same to you with both affordable and expensive watches? And there's a couple of answers to that question. First of all, I try to wear the watch for the occasion. If I know I'm working on my car or a friend's car doing renovations, I'll throw the G-Shock on. If I'm out for a hike, I'll throw maybe a field watch on. The more expensive watches have to have landed in the keeper category for me to feel comfortable about wearing them a little bit more freely. I have a lot of watches, or I've had a lot of watches where I'm uncertain whether it's going to be a keeper. And when I'm uncertain, it usually isn't a keeper. So I'm much more careful with those because I know I'm going to be either selling or trading towards another watch. So once it's a keeper, I'm a lot more comfortable with it. A good example is my Grand Seiko. I wear that quite a bit, and I don't worry about that at all. It's picked up a few scratches, and it doesn't bother me at all. Torben Svensson asks, do you do any watchmaking? Can you service a watch, for example? And I really don't mess with movements a whole lot. I'll do battery changes and the basics like that, but it's kind of lucky and maybe unlucky and stunted my progress when it comes to the knowledge of watch movements. But I have a watchmaker that's 2 kilometers from my house, and he's very good. So it's just so convenient. Anytime I have a problem, I go to him. Todd Wisehouse asks, what is your favorite / most worn 3-watch rotation from your current collection? So the 3 watches I'd say I'm wearing the most right now are the Grand Seiko. I wear the Grand Seiko a whole lot. I'm also wearing the Marathon General Purpose Mechanical quite a bit. I really like this watch. And a G-Shock, either the 5610 or the GA 2100. There's one other watch that gets the most of my wrist time, though, and that is whatever watch is lent in for reviews. If you were to bump into me on an average day, I'm more likely to have on a review watch than anything from my own collection. So that's always kind of a fun thing with the YouTube thing, is being able to experience those watches, and I do wear them quite a bit. Villa Pico, or Pico, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name there, I apologize for that, asks, what equipment do you use to take those photos on Instagram? And I'm actually filming on the same camera right now, so I'm going to try to show you guys here. This is the Canon 90D, and I take almost all of my photos and video with this camera. And for the photography stuff, for my intros and outros on YouTube and my Instagram shots, 90% of that is done on this 100mm macro lens from Canon. Emmanuel asks, which watch complication is your favorite and which is the one you think is the most useful? My favorite watch complication is for sure the GMT function. I'm big into travel, so it's nice to have that second time zone to keep track of your home and local time. Not the most useful when you're not traveling, but the most useful for me, other than the most obvious, which is the time, would be the date. I definitely use the date a lot on my watches. And when I look down and don't have the date, it kind of throws me off sometimes. Actually, today, no date on this particular one, but the date is definitely the most useful to me. So to the last question, and this one's a bit of a Christmas themed question. Before we get to that though, I just want to thank everybody for submitting the questions. It's always a lot of fun. There's actually 2 questions I think I may do full videos on. So if you had a question that you think was worthy of an answer, you're probably the one. There was 2 really good ones, but they're just too long a form to get through in this type of a video. But the last question is from 2788 Flyers. I don't know if you're a Philly fan or a Philadelphia Flyers fan. I'm a Leafs fan here, but he asks, since it's Christmas time, what is your favorite Christmas movie? 100% my favorite Christmas movie is Scrooged. I'm a huge Bill Murray fan. Although I did see a brand new one that came out just this year, the new Mel Gibson one, Fat Man. If you haven't seen that, I'd highly recommend it. That's a really good Christmas movie. I quite enjoyed that one. So that is it for the questions. Let's get to the giveaway. So I did the draw on the computer a few minutes ago using a random comment picker, a YouTube comment picker, and I have the winner's name. Before I show that on screen though, just a recap of what's up for grabs. We have the Casio Duro, the blue model. We have the Timex Expedition and the Casio World Time. They're all going to be coming out in this watch roll from Mirage Luxury Travel. Also, with the watches and watch roll, I have some straps from Straps Co. And I have a couple of other straps from a couple of different companies that I'm going to kick in there too, I think. So let's get to the draw. And the winner of the draw is Kelly O'Neill. Congratulations, Kelly. I hope you enjoyed the new watches and accessories. Thanks so much for entering. Thanks to all of you guys for entering. I hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and enjoys the time with their families. I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel in the way that you all do. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.